What's up, everybody? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by We Print Wraps. We Print Wraps is the wrap industry's #1 source for wholesale printed wraps. They offer free nationwide shipping all across the U.S. and Canada. Go to WePrintWraps.com today. Okay, folks, welcome to the All Wrapped Up podcast. If you're new to the show, I've been a weekly listener. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. As you know, I don't ask for much, but I appreciate it if you left your feedback and a 5-star rating on any platform that you're listening to. It really helps us out in getting the word out about the industry. And don't forget, if you find value in the content, subscribe and tell a friend. And now here's a brand new episode of All Wrapped Up with Tim Hilcove from Smart Wrap. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to All Wrapped Up podcast. We'll be interviewing industry-leading wrap companies to share tips, tricks, stories, and more. All right, so we'll go live. We got Tim Hilcove from Smart Wraps. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, Jeff. Good to talk with you.
Hey, I appreciate you sending over that email to come on the show.
Great. I've been looking forward to it, and now that I've got headphones that work, we can get talking.
Yeah, we can move forward from that little glitch from before, but we got it all figured out, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Typically, like how I like to start the show is I like to get just an inside look on what you have going on, projects at Smart Wrap, and how you ended the week, given that today is Monday.
Okay, good. Yeah. I just got back into the office today out of being out in LA for the Adobe Max conference.
Nice.
And also the SGIA show in Las Vegas. So it's been kind of a busy week. That's
amazing. Now, for some of the listeners that don't know much about the Adobe Max show, can you let us in on what type of event that is?
Yeah, it's put on by Adobe. It's this one was put on in LA at the LA Convention Center. Attendees go there to learn about all of the new things that Adobe's doing, maybe with Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, all of the different apps and different projects that they're working on. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people were there, but it looked like probably 10,000 people, maybe. I don't know, maybe 5,000.
Wow.
It was a lot. And everybody there is somehow in the creative realm, either building apps or web development or graphic design or, any of that kind of thing. And this year the keynote was Ron Howard, a real interesting character from, some people might know him from Happy Days, but he actually became a prolific movie producer and later after he left that. One of the super, super interesting things that was really cutting edge at the conference was the augmented reality apps.
What is that all about?
It's so crazy. I guess younger people might think that, this is all kind of normal, but for the older folks, it's hard to even imagine that this could be a real thing. So there was 2 versions of it. One of it was a trade show booth that, was designed with a bunch of white cutout shapes that were hanging from the ceiling. And they looked like clouds and palm trees and different things, and that you could walk through the booth. It was a huge booth, probably 30 feet by 30 feet. But when you hold up your phone and you have the app on it, you can see all the colors, like the palm trees have colors in them, the clouds have colors. You can change it, and you can be in the actual app itself. It's hard to explain how interesting that was. And then the other thing was they had Beck play a concert at the Bank of California Stadium.
Wow.
And they gave out these posters that when you hold the phone up to it, the poster comes to life. And it's almost like you're watching TV show or something. Like the whole thing starts moving. It cuts to a live clip of him playing on stage, but you can't see any of it without your phone up in front of the poster.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, do you think they're going to incorporate this some way, somehow into the vehicle wrap realm?
You could. That's what I was thinking. The next thing it's almost like this QR code type thing that's embedded somewhere in the image. And if you have the app, then the whole thing comes to life with, I'm not sure how they do it. Maybe it feeds the footage to directly to your phone somehow. But, you could really do some crazy stuff with moving billboards with, parked wraps that are parked outside of stadiums, football teams or sports teams. Or beverages. And if you have the app, you walk past, you get the content, which allows you to, get the secret code, which gets you the special prize or something like that.
That's amazing.
So, some really next level stuff for marketers.
Yeah. Do you think that's marketing more towards the younger generation? Obviously.
Yeah, definitely. But it doesn't take long, right? Like how many 3 years ago, Snapchat was for teenagers, right?
Right.
And now if you're at a concert, you'll see, grandma Snapchatting at the concert, right?
That's so
it's really funny.
That's amazing. What else did you see at the SGIA show that you attended?
Let's see, I saw the team wrap challenge, which was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There was some new material there from 3M. That was kind of interesting. It wasn't that innovative. I mean, there was some things that were there, but it wasn't like Adobe Max, which is super, super cutting edge. This is more of the tried and true stuff.
Right.
Right. This is what business owners are using to make their businesses work right now.
Right.
And so that was pretty interesting. The big news out of SGIA is that this last show was the last show.
This was it?
Yeah.
Really?
They're joining up now. The next year is going to be called Printing United.
Wow.
So they're joining up with another organization, and I forgot the name of it, but they're going to add packaging. So, cereal boxes, whatever stuff comes in a package is going to be part of so it's not just sign and graphics, graphics and packaging. So it's anything that's printed. It's going to have more membership, a bigger show. And they're going to have, screen printing and sublimation in one area, and then graphics and wraps in one area, and then packaging and display in another area. So you kind of have your topics separated.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the cross-pollination kind of way of thinking.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah. So, that was that. This basically the rap competition was where I spent a fair amount of my time just, looking at, a little bit of technique.
Mm-hmm.
Although when you're doing these, you got 30 minutes to wrap one half of a car.
Right.
You're not thinking about whether this is going to bubble up in a month or not, or peel off or whatnot. So you're trying to get it done in the time allotted with the least amount of flaws. Whereas in the real world, what you're doing is you've got 8 hours to do it, and it needs to be flawless.
Right.
You can't have a single bubble, or you're going to be repeating your work next week, right when you're trying to install next week's work.
Right. Now, so, I get mixed reviews a little bit. A lot of people say, the competition is great, it's all in good fun, but what do you really get out of it? Just like you said, it's the same thing. You get an 8-hour day. It has to be flawless. It has to be on there, and it can't come back. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts as far as like the friendly competition, 30 minutes, doing the best you can do? As far as like the industry, what's your thoughts?
I think it's good. A little bit of friendly competition. Some prize money doesn't hurt, right?
Oh yeah, that's always a plus.
A little bit of competition, and it gets people from the other outside of the industry to stand and look and see. Oh yeah, that's how they do it. That's interesting. Maybe we should do that, or maybe we should get into it, or maybe maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should hire an expert instead of trying to learn it myself.
Yeah.
You know, but it's sort of like, I liken it to like Grammys or Oscars or whatnot. You know, it's hard to pick a winner, but it's sort of a pat on the back to the industry a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you got your basic guys out there that they're all really, really good installers. You wouldn't even get into the competition if you didn't know what you were doing.
Absolutely.
So it's a good way to bring a little bit of fun and excitement into the industry.
Right. Yeah. I love the competition, the friendly stuff. It's always a mixed bag sometimes, but I mean, I really like the Rap Like a King, where that in itself stands the test of time, and that, you know, those people are usually clients that are paying to get that customization, that one-off rap, where,
right,
you know, people are taking a couple months, a couple weeks designing it prior to even installing it, and, you know, taking their time profiling everything to a T where everything lines up. One thing that comes to mind is those two Corvettes that Kevin just did. Just, you know, the amount of timing and, you know, him taking photos of lines on the car. It's just, you know, you don't know what he's thinking and what he's doing, how he's templating. But once you see the final result, you're just like, okay, it makes sense now. And it's been weeks and months in the making, and seeing the final result is just, it blows my mind how every little side and bumper and quarter panel
it's like
lines up.
It's like a sculptor.
Exactly.
You know, you're chiseling it from 3 dimensions. It's not like a painter.
Right.
So it's more like a sculptor, and it takes quite a long time.
Absolutely.
It'd be interesting to see a design competition where you have like 1 hour to lay stuff out, and maybe they try to print it and see how it, you know, where you try to lay your design in theory would work, and in reality it doesn't. It'd be really interesting to see that, especially with a sort of a wire mesh background to it, where you're like, okay, so the side view goes around here, and then there's a bumper. That's not going to work.
Yeah, taking it from like the, you know, little by little, where you can do a start to end. First day would be templating and a little bit of design. Second day, finalize your design and print, and then your final day, install and see how that all worked out at the end. You know, does it all line up?
Yeah, that's the funny part, because
that would be amazing. Maybe someone that's listening could come up with some type of competition in that aspect.
Yeah.
So, you know, doing a lot of traveling now. As far as what you do at Smart Wraps, do you attend a lot of these events throughout the year, or do you only pick and choose when the new year comes, saying, you know, hey, we have to go RapsCon, SGIA, or SEMA?
Yeah, I just think about what'll have the best impact, what we have the time for, what time, you know, what else is going on at that time. Yeah. This one here was really a tight schedule. It was really tough to get this, because we drove out of Phoenix at about 7 a.m. on Sunday. Got into LA in the afternoon to try and set up the booth for the Bad Rap before they shut down access at like 5 or 6 o'clock. Because the show started on Monday morning at 8 o'clock, so there wasn't time.
Wow.
So then we worked from 8 in the morning till I think about 10 at night on Monday. And then Tuesday from 8 till, including the Beck concert, probably about 1 in the morning. And then Wednesday we had to break down the booth at 4 o'clock and drive directly to Vegas to try and set up the SGIA booth, because the SGIA show started at 9 a.m. on Thursday.
Jesus.
So yeah, we left LA at 4:30, got into Vegas at 10:30 with a little stop at McDonald's in Barstow on the way. And, yeah, it's fun. That's the thing. I like the hustle. I like the stress of trying to get it all done. I just live for that. I love it. And driving all those hours, that's something else I enjoy. You get quite a bit of time to think and think to yourself, maybe listen to music or some other, podcast, but mostly just think to yourself, develop your ideas and your strategy and what you're going to do next. It's very meditative, I find.
Definitely. Now, were you doing a lot of the driving, the back?
I
and
do
forth?
all the driving because I don't like to be a passenger. So
yeah, your mind goes crazy. Probably.
I cannot be a passenger. So
that's too funny. So what do you got going on at the Smart Wrap shop this week for projects? Can you let us in a little bit?
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of stuff for Wrapify this week, which is kind of interesting.
Nice.
They've done a deal with a company here, and we've got, I don't know, probably about 10 or 15 vehicles that are 100% wrap. We're trying to get those all done as quickly as possible for them. So that's it. The first one started on Friday while I was out of town, but now we've got the shop loaded up with all kinds of vehicles. So we put our own stuff on hold for a week to do that, and then next week we'll have a backlog of all of our own stuff.
So do you guys network with a lot of like different places where you guys just do all the installs?
Not normally, but I just found the Wrapify model to be somewhat interesting, so I thought I'd give it a try and see how it works.
How long have you been working with them now?
This is our first project with them.
First one. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really loaded up the schedule here. So
yeah. Got to make that first good impression, and maybe come out a little early with the projects. Be done.
Yeah, just do a good job and try to help them out. It's a fairly new idea, and it's a kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
I know from my own business here, I always get calls. Do you guys pay people to drive around and wrap cars? And for many years, the answer has been no. What you do is, if you have a business, you wrap your car. Nobody's going to pay you to drive their air conditioning wrap around when you don't know anything about air conditioning.
Right.
So now they've worked out a way to do this where it's more of a corporate thing, say like healthcare or a political ad or something where you don't need to be an expert on this. It's just a branding exercise at the national level.
Yeah. Kind of like a short-term campaign.
So like you just drive around in a car that says AtNut, and then, people don't have to quiz the driver about it. Whereas if it was like ABC Plumbing Company, they'd be like, hey, can you, how much to do this? And at the gas station, and the guy's like, oh, I don't know. I actually just drive around in this car for money.
That's it.
So
that's my job. That's so funny. I do like their the way they run that. You know what I mean? Because it's probably a lot cheaper if you're running a campaign. They do all the legwork. They find, they do the marketing, have someone slap it on, someone gets paid to drive around for a few weeks, a month, half a year, whatever the case may be. And it's in and out, at least for shops like yourself, where it potentially could be just good fill-in work. I mean, you're probably busy all year round because your weather is more or less perfect. Unlike up here on the East Coast, it's fall and it's 35 degrees here, and we're going to be seeing snow soon, and the weather sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're right. We get about maybe 15 days of rain a year here. So
Jesus.
So and 100 days a year of over 100 degrees. So.
Well, you could.
It's a pretty hot place.
Yeah, I'll take the heat over snow any day.
Yeah, a lot of people have made that choice in recent years.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people moving here, so. Yeah.
Well, I want to get into a little bit about yourself. Can you take me back a little bit on how you kind of fell into the industry? Yeah,
listen, I'll go way back for you. I was born in South Africa, of all places.
Wow.
And my family emigrated to Canada in 1981. They sort of foresee a lot of problems with South Africa in terms of unrest and violence, and also the way they were running the country, which was incredibly unfair to 90% of the population with their apartheid laws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly racist. And my parents didn't want to be a part of that anymore. And rather than try to change it from inside, they said, let's just get out of here. This place is somewhat doomed. And I feel bad if there's any, South Africans or South Africans out there listening, but you just have to call it as it is. It's much better to be in Canada or the United States.
Yeah.
So we moved to British Columbia. My dad took a job with Kentucky Fried Chicken, became a regional manager, and then he saw an opportunity to become a McDonald's franchisee, because one of the places he was going as a regional manager didn't have a McDonald's in it, and he thought, hey, this would be a good place to open a McDonald's. So he asked them. They said, sure. So I was raised in really real far north, like pretty close to Alaska.
Wow.
In a tiny little town of 12,000 people. But while I was there, the art community in that town was really something else. They had a very large music festival every year, a very artistic little community. And at that time also, my father got onto the advertising board for McDonald's Canada. And sort of to keep me out of trouble, he allowed me to attend some of these meetings. And so that's where I started to really think that advertising and marketing was something that I just intuitively sort of understood and started to digest and consume.
Wow.
I got a scholarship to art school after high school, which I went to and did not complete because I thought it would be a great idea to join a rock band and hit the road and be a starving musician, which was another part of the marketing sort of learning process. This was in the early to mid 90s, before the internet even took off. So a lot of success from getting a tour going or a good show comes from having good posters and good handbills and good networking. Everything we do now, it's just that we have a digital tool so that we can do it, whenever we can do it from our bed at night rather than having to hit the streets.
Right. Digital.
Yeah. And so I got really good at making posters and handbills that got people's attention and got them out to these shows, because our band definitely the music wasn't going to be the thing that did it. So
now, did you play an instrument or did you sing?
Yeah, I played guitar.
Oh, nice.
And so, we had some what we had was eventually we had our posters were so interesting that they got taken down off the walls by people that wanted to keep them for their houses.
Wow.
So it was hard to get people to see the show because we put up a huge, on construction sites, and within an hour, like half of them have been taken down by people that are like, "Oh, that's neat. I want that."
Oh my God! So how did you keep up with that? Just go back?
Yeah, we just double back. Yeah.
Oh my God!
And then we experienced, this out of the box thinking started then too. So what I learned in the little bit of art school that I did was that if you get the right red and blue right next to each other, they sort of oscillate.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates this weird effect on your eyes. So we got this cutout picture of Papa Smurf, a Papa Smurf like plush toy that was quite big, and put it on a blue background with our name in red writing. And that created a lot of attention.
Wow.
And then, the other thing we did was, at the time to pay bills, and help continue this, sort of rock and roll fantasy, I was a courier during the day. So I delivered blueprints to different construction sites and, all kinds of weird things like cow eyeballs to an eye school for them to operate on, all kinds of weird things. I delivered the scripts for the X-Files and things like that.
Really?
But yeah, and so one of the things I noticed was this blueprint place that made these 3-foot by 3-foot blueprints. And I asked them, how much does the architect pay for this? And they said, it's about 50 cents a page. And so for a 3-foot by 3-foot post, it was 50 cents.
Wow.
And we were paying $1 for a full colored 12-inch by 12-inch. So we started making these in blueprint form.
Yeah. Save the money on that end.
Yeah. And you could really cover a wall pretty fast with these big posters.
Oh, yeah.
So that worked out good. So anyways, a lot of different marketing and networking and stuff that builds the foundation for how any sort of business needs to bootstrap itself.
Right.
But eventually it's a tough way to continue to live your life. Once you get into your late 20s, the thrill of it all sort of starts to fade when everybody else in your life is starting to get their act together and you're still,
doing gigs,
still scraping by, just, whatever. So, I ended up getting a chance to go, to get into business with my dad. He had decided to retire from McDonald's and get into a spray and bedliner company here in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And with the McDonald's background, and some of the people that had worked with my dad for most of their lives, we took this bedliner business and sort of McDonaldized it with processes and systems and things like that, and we're able to increase the productivity by 1,000% or something like that.
Wow.
And eventually we sort of saw a threat to this industry by, what if the manufacturers decided to start doing this at the factory? We wouldn't have a business. So we started to think of other things we could do, which led to this crazy idea of spraying bedliner material onto clear bra paint protection film and then running it through a plotter and then painting it with paint, and we could cover up people's rocker panels on their pickup trucks if they were all beat up. Instead of having a paint job, you would just put this textured color match paint thing along the rocker panels.
Yeah.
And then we said, well, maybe we could print on this. What if we could print sports teams logos on this bedliner material? And we managed to get this material to go through a Muto printer.
Really?
Yeah, so that became really interesting. And then the economy tanked and nobody was going to be buying anything automotive. So we thought, well, with the marketing background, the art school background, a little bit of technical know-how, we have the printer. Why not do this wrap business?
Right.
And then a month after doing that, we got a fleet of 50 vehicles.
Wow.
Which was a cab company that had bought a bunch of Priuses. So we really hit the ground running and started to, build quite quickly. That was about 10 years ago. And so we've been plugging away here in Phoenix ever since, and, built a nice little business for ourselves. Mainly focused on, I subscribe to a lot of the stuff that Dan Antonelli talks about, which is build the brand of your clients rather than just slapping stuff on there and hoping for the best.
Agreed.
I've really taken to heart a lot of what he talks about, and that's how we try to build this.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you went from the bedliner business to starting to print on and creating your own kind of decals, for lack of a better word, for the rocker panels, and then that sparked Smart Wrap.
Yes, it did. Yeah. I have a group of investors that I work with that all have different talents, and I'm just really, really blessed to be able to work with people that they're just the best. Like some of the characters are amazing at taking apart things and then putting them back together. Like take apart a computer piece by piece, put it back together, finding a better way, systems oriented, something like that. And other people are really great at, finance or, relationships and things like that. And so each person has their skill set, and, we work together. Each person sort of runs a different division.
Mm-hmm.
We have one guy running the bedliner stuff still. We have one guy running we actually have a ClearBroad division. I run the wraps division. And we also have a couple of other, little side projects that, we, as a group, decided we weren't going to do any more investing because there's too many ideas, and it's really hard to be spread so thin. But these new ideas just keep coming up, and it's really hard to say no sometimes.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
we've got a couple more like super interesting things that in the new year I'll be able to talk about, but they're not related to anything that we're doing at the moment.
We talk about entrepreneurs and how they grow, and they always kind of go back and say, hire people that are smarter than you, or hire people that do things that you can't do. And I feel like you've kind of built that philosophy where, you can only do so much in an 8 or 10 hour day. So to have somebody in and take care of, the ClearBroad that knows a ClearBroad, that's going to be solely their gig. They're going to be fully invested in that. You're going to take care of the wraps, and everybody has their own lane, and nobody crosses lanes.
Actually, the funny thing is we can actually cross lanes because we're just interested in each one of us has done all of the different businesses.
Okay.
So when I first started with the bedliner, my first job was to sand the paint off the bed. Wow. And so that was a fun job in Phoenix in the heat.
Said nobody.
So for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in a shop that was 130 to 140 degrees, sand paint. It was very sort of Ralph Macchio Karate Kid moment. Wax on, wax off, right? Yeah. And each one of us knows how to, if we had to, we could go in and mask a truck off, sand down the paint, wipe it with solvent, spray the bedliner, and produce a bedliner.
Wow.
Most of us could come in here and at least understand all of the concepts that could go into wrapping our vehicle, know the concepts of designing the wrap, So it's not just a bunch of like Warren Buffett's, which there's nothing wrong with Warren Buffett, but he's not going to walk into a AutoNation and start selling cars or changing oil or doing anything like that.
Right.
So it's hands-on work with your crew. If one business is popping up and getting busy, then we'll ask for help, and maybe we'll move over and to the other business. Or if one is now set and it's coasting along great, then we'll move owners and shareholders into other projects. But basically, what it is partnering with people and becoming shareholders together.
Right.
So we all have the same vested interest in making everything succeed.
Now, are you guys all within the same building, or are you spread out in different areas?
Yeah, we're spread out all over Phoenix.
Wow, so. That's amazing. And how many more or less ventures are you involved in now, including Smart Wrap?
Let's see. So there's the bedliners. That's Inyati bedliners. There's the ClearBroad with Smart Shield, the Smart Wrap, the Bad Wrap.
Mm-hmm.
We have a thing. This is kind of neat. It's a offshoot of Smart Shield, which this happened about 10 years ago. A guy came in when I was working the front office, just happened to be working the front office at a bedliner store one day, and this guy came in with this pattern, and he said, "Can you cut this out of ClearBroad for me?" And it looked like a helicopter blade.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out it was a thing that he was patenting or trying to patent that you could wrap baseball bats with in a certain pattern, and he thought it would prevent the bat from shattering and breaking and injuring people.
I guess at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If it's something to save someone's life, you know.
Without affecting the game, too, because, I mean, the other thing you could do is put up a big, you know, glass partition like they do in hockey all the way around, and then you kind of messed up the feel of the game, right?
Absolutely. Even, you know, I mean, maybe not sitting close, you know, up close, you know, first 10 rows. I mean, even having that little kind of mesh fence thing is kind of distracting to your eyes. You know, you really have to look through it a certain way in order to kind of, you know, not be so visible. It almost works as the perforated film idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
From far, you can't really see it, but when you're up close, you really see all the dots, and it kind of plays tricks with your eyes. But hey, that's amazing. So, you know, for 5 different ventures, I guess I counted really fast, but you've got your hands in a lot of stuff, which is nice. It keeps you on your toes, probably.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. Each shareholder has their strengths and can take the lead on whatever it is that, you know, we decide that that's what their lead is.
Yeah.
But they can also draw on the strengths of the other people. So, you know, let's say the bedliner stuff is getting, you know, really, really busy, or they needed extra people, or I need extra people. We can shuffle people around. We can ask for advice on, you know, relationships with our big fleet clients. They're similar type things, right? If you're in the wrap world, you have a fleet client,
right?
And if you need a new fleet client, well, it's not that different from the other business, because you're also dealing with vehicles, and maybe there's a little bit of overlap with people that have a lot of trucks and need bedliners. They might also need graphics, or vice versa.
Yeah, great networking group.
Yeah.
Great networking group. It's just, you know, everybody's kind of all tied in some way, somehow. And it could be an all-in-one type of transaction, so to say.
Sometimes we work that way too. With a lot of plumbing vehicles, the insides of them get quite wet, or messed up. So we will spray the insides with the bedliner, wrap the outsides with the graphics. Kind of a one-stop shop.
That's amazing. Now, you know, take me into like your day-to-day. Like, what does Tim do day in and day out at Smart Wraps, and what do you like to do the most?
Well, let's see. Start about depends on, you know, how late I went to bed, but anywhere from when I'm really you know, really in the zone. Sometimes it'll be starting at, you know, 4 or 5 in the morning.
Wow.
Start by getting up, checking the emails, responding to emails, and then trying to do marketing or networking stuff. Then I take the kids to school most mornings, so, you know, it's not all hustle. I got to have a little bit of life mixed in there too. So it's nice. My wife picks them up, and I take them to school. It's on the way to work anyway, so. I live about 5 miles from work, and school's halfway in between, so it works out great.
Perfect.
Get into the office around 8:15. Again, meet with everybody briefly, see if there's anything I can do for them. I do have to remind myself, but it's something I do I believe in, is being a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to help facilitate this, not bark orders. What can I do to help is really the greatest thing that anybody could ever say. And so I want to be that. What can I do to help? See that everybody's doing all right. They are all got everything they need to continue their day. And then it's just a matter of managing all the different projects, managing incoming leads, managing events. Sometimes, you know, talking about the other investments, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I learned when working in McDonald's is you've got all these different stations, right? And especially at lunchtime rush, you've got one person that works at making French fries, and one person or two people or three people making hamburgers, and people working at the till. Everybody has their spot.
Right.
And if you as a manager come in and work one of those positions, the second that something goes wrong or needs your attention and you wander off, now there's nobody working that position.
Right.
So your job is to back up those people, not do the job, but to back up. So the fry person, do you need another box of fries? Bring it over to them. The counter people, or do you need any change? Bring them change. The grilling people, are you almost out of, hamburger patties? And so in the shop here, we're almost out of alcohol. I'll run and go get the alcohol, or go and get the supplies, or we suddenly need more material. We'll run down to our supplier for that, or the client is running a little bit late, or they can get a ride, so I will give them a ride or go pick up their vehicle. So anything to keep everybody just keep moving along, doing what they're doing, and stop anything from interrupting what they're doing. That's what I do. I'm like the gopher.
And you know what? That's great that you learned that at such a younger age, because a lot of us, and even me being a business owner, the hardest thing that a lot of us have is letting go. We want to not so much micromanage, but we want to oversee everything. And at the end of the day, I think that hinders you from actually getting your job done, which is running the business, getting the new clients in, going to meetings. If you're always calling the shop and saying, hey, did you cut that door right? Did you fuck up the handle?
Oh, yeah,
It's just...
everybody's going to quit, too. Because
yes, it's stress.
Unless you actually are that's the thing, is as an owner, most of the time I'd say you're not the world's foremost at all of the different positions in your business.
Yeah.
In fact, depending on how you got to where you're going, a lot of entrepreneurs don't have a formal education. They probably wouldn't be able to be qualified to be hired as an entry level in their own company.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right.
I've heard that before. What's your resume? Well, I don't know. I hustle. Okay, good. The bathroom needs attention.
Oh my God. Do you agree a little bit on it, or do you have your own take as far as like rap related industry? Like what, cause you've seen, you've gone out, you've done conferences, you've spoken. What do you see as a business owner in the rap industry being the biggest downfall for a rap shop?
I've had my head down in this business for I don't know a heck of a lot about what other people are doing. And that's why I really like going to these conferences and talking to people. And I see, the similar challenges with, creative and trying to get clients to, well, if you're framing it, I think in the wrong way, you're thinking, how can I tell clients what to do? Mm-hmm. And if you're thinking about it the right way, I think what you need to be thinking is, how can I get clients to decide to help themselves? Mm. How can I get them to think of their business first and their own needs and satisfactions second? How can I help? How can I be, how can I get them to help themselves? What is that movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. where he's like, help me help you? Jerry Maguire.
Right? Yeah.
Help me help you.
Yeah.
So, there's a number of different ways to do that. The trust has got to be first. I mean, they can't just think that you're walking in there knowing it as a know-it-all. It's like trying to tell a parent about a problem with their kid. Mm-hmm. This is my business is my kid. I know that most other people, their business is their kid, and you're going to walk in there and say, "Hey, you're doing it all wrong." That's not going to go down very well. Mm. So
you feel like you're almost kind of stepping over your boundaries a little bit. When a client comes in, they already come in with their mindset on something they've seen, or it's just, they're just stuck in their old ways. I need to have this done this way. And to get them out of that mindset, it's, half the time it's about that, because, I need a list of shit all over my van because my van's big. And like you've said in multiple videos and conferences that you've done, speeches, you've got the 3-second rule, and you've got you referenced the moving billboard, not a moving brochure, which is kind of funny. True. Which is kind of funny because, I mean, I see it all the time. It drives me nuts. And you've got so much on there and you really don't know what to focus on. And I like your way of thinking that, you know what, in this day and age, digital is where it's at. And you reference Google. Everyone's going to Google you. Just put your brand, your name large, and put your phone number up if need be. And keep it simple. I love that. And honestly, that just goes back to like Dan Antonelli's, design concepts and the way he produces his branding for vehicles. It's just clean, visible, readable, and then that's it. Like no fluff to it.
Yeah. And the next level on that is feeling, because here's the thing is that, people don't buy on anything other than emotion. And I'm a person too. And that's exactly me, right? Like when I'm really excited about something, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to buy this, we just, upgraded our Sonos system for the house. And I feel really good about it.
It's great. It's a great system.
We're going to have great parties. This is going to make our family happy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, this is another 100 watts. It costs $500.
Right.
It gets plugged in. It uses 12 volts, whatever. There's no, we're going to have some great parties. Like, how is that going to feel?
Right.
That's going to feel great. We're going to have a great party on Halloween here. Because now we've got the whole house, it's not just in the kitchen anymore. No matter where you go in the house, you can hear music.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You get going with that on, say, a air conditioning company. So instead of having a picture of an air conditioner, which if you put a picture of an air conditioner on a wrap, to me, they always look like a computer tower.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that most people out there are like, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't care.
Right.
And it doesn't create any sort of emotional connection.
Right.
It doesn't make them smile. And if you smile enough times, eventually when a time comes that you need the service, hopefully there's going to be some kind of memory there. Or when they do the Google search, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that company. I'm going to at least give them a call.
Right.
Because without the phone call, you're not on the list. You're game over, right?
That's it.
You're going to be there. Most people are going to do a list of 3 companies. Actually, that's something we're going to be trying here in the future, starting with the creative briefings that we have scheduled tomorrow. I think we'll video it as well, create a new video for this, but we're just going to ask the brand new clients real quick. Can you use the keyboard here in the design room and just look up 3 air conditioning companies, like by name.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they remember. Okay. So you remembered, ABC company. Why didn't you just call them?
Right.
Well, I don't know what the phone number is. Well, haven't you seen the phone number? It's on the wrap.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge on the wrap. The website's on the wrap too, but you remember the name. What about these companies? These companies you didn't remember because look at their logo is tiny and their contact information is huge.
Right.
The ones that you did remember are brand first.
That's a good reference. I think even if you did small renderings on a piece of paper and just kind of almost tested them while they were there, be like, hey, just take a look at this and tell me which one sticks out to you. And then you can almost test them to see where their mind's going to be at as far as what they think a vehicle wrap should look like. Because, you know, there are bad wraps out there, you know, and there are really great wraps out there. But the consumer, the customer that's buying these doesn't know the difference. And that's sometimes.
You mean the business owner that's getting the vehicle wrapped?
Right.
Or the person that they're supposed to be their client?
Well, both.
Yeah.
I think both. They're doing a disservice. And
I'm really lucky because I get two things. I get at least once a week, I get a person that comes in and they're very excited about wraps because they've just seen one.
Right.
And they've probably seen, this is how it goes. I just saw the best wrap ever. It's got this on it, and it's got that on it, it's got these colors, it's got this, and it's got that. It was just amazing. And I go, oh, cool. So, what was the name of the company?
I don't know.
And they're like, don't know. So
right.
You want a wrap that nobody remembers the name of the company as well? Is that what you're asking for? Because we can put a lot of stuff on there for you, and it'll be a huge success.
Oh my God.
It'd be exactly. And then they're like, oh. And the other thing we're very lucky that this is where we are, but right next door to us is a huge warehouse, the train distribution center.
Mm-hmm.
So there's at least some days, 20, 30 vehicle wraps in the parking lot.
Wow.
Of different air conditioners, and they're driving by all the time. And I say, what do you see on that one? What do you see on that one? What company is that? And some of them, they read them off. And they're like, that's great. What about that one? I don't know what that was. Do you know what they do? Not really, you know. And then, so that's what's helpful is to get people. Now, I haven't told them anything. I've just asked them, what do they remember?
Right.
And now when they're going into this, they're thinking, okay, I didn't remember a heck, so I better not do that. Rather than me telling them, they actually didn't remember. So now they've got firsthand experience.
Right. I don't think a lot of the customers that come in for a wrap really diagnose it the way that a lot of other shops diagnose it. You know what I mean? Like looking outside the box, you know, if it isn't part of your logo, then maybe it shouldn't be on the truck. You know, just like you reference, you know, an HVAC company, why have, you know, the propeller, you know, with the air flowing, you know, someone's going to look at that. If that's not part of your logo, it shouldn't be up there. Or an AC unit, you know,
unless it's somehow like you're going all in on like the dog is part of your brand.
Right.
And so in the radio commercials, you've got the dog barking. In your TV commercials, you've got the dog, and like everywhere the dog, then maybe that should be on the wrap.
Right. The association.
But sometimes people don't have that. They're like, yeah, I just like my dog. I want him on the wrap. And you're like, what's that got to do with,
construction?
Exactly. Construction. Because it's not in your logo.
Right.
Well, I just like dogs. Okay, cool. Then
is your dog with you every time you go build a house? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Is that what your clients remember every time? I mean,
so yeah. So this wrap's more about feeling good about your dog than it is about building your business. I understand.
Right. Yeah. And that all goes back to, you know, convincing them that that's not the way to go about, you know, they should be building their brand based on their customers that are going to be using their service. You know, what is
exactly, that's who you're marketing to. And the weird and funny thing is that what I think, or even even what the business owner thinks, or what I think, it's really the people out there on the road that what they think is the ultimate judge.
Right.
And so sometimes I've seen stuff that in the beginning, especially when, you know, we weren't as focused as we are now, that we thought was a great wrap. Didn't get the results. But now I've seen enough of I know what are the common themes or common things that of a person that comes back to the shop and needs 3 more vehicles wrapped compared to the person that's coming back 6 months down the road and needs the wrap removed because either they're going out of business or nobody's calling them because this wrap doesn't work.
No.
there's some common things there. And again, it's too much information is not as effective. Going strong with your logo first and having a great logo is effective. Having crazy colors that are not part of your thing, not as effective as keeping it classy.
Mm-hmm.
Bullet points, really, I mean, 3 the max, and that would only be on the back.
Right.
If your website's not the same name as your company, I wouldn't put it on there.
Mm.
And if your phone number isn't one of these phone numbers that's really easy to remember, I'm not even sure if I'd put that on there. And then a tagline. Here's a pet peeve of mine is taglines like "one call does it all," or servicing all your, and then whatever business you're in needs. So like servicing all your plumbing needs. First off, I don't think it's possible that you could possibly be serving all of everybody's plumbing needs.
Right.
Like that's just not going to happen. Like if you're a plumber, you're doing certain things, but you're not making toilets. You're not,
you're not doing it.
So
soup the nuts.
It's not all. It's not all the plumbing.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. All of your vehicle needs. You're like, really? So what kind of a car dealership is that?
Yeah. No shit. I mean, that makes sense.
But one call does it all. That's really funny too, because, I think, and I've said this before, I think when the telephone was still a relatively new thing, that would have been a great tagline.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, pick up the phone. You're like, wow, I can do that by phone. Yeah. And now you're like, one call does it all. Really? I don't need to call you. And also it's going to take more than one phone call, most likely.
Absolutely. And now with the day and age of just, online quoting, half the time you don't really talk to the client until you could have a full blown conversation via email with the project, year, make, model. They could send you a PayPal transaction to get the deposit down, get renderings. You might not even see that client until they come to drop off that car a couple weeks later, but you've had intimate conversations via email about the car, what they're looking for, changing concept designs, getting that final approval. Cause you can e-sign it on an email now and send it down and then boom, it's in production. You're ready to go. And then you finally meet that client a couple weeks later. It's just technology now is evolving. And I feel like a lot of us should really get on the ball with it. I think we lack a little bit of it. Whether it be, a presence online, a website, and even just like a website and having those forms you could fill out, which at the end of the day, as a business owner, when you're on the phone and you're talking, you could talk to a client that's passionate 10, 15, 20 minutes. What are you actually getting done at the end of the day? You really want to be like, listen, here's a quick quote over the phone. Why don't you come in? You know what I mean? In and out. You're not making money, bedazzling them on the phone and having conversations. They're like, yeah, my daughter. It's like, whoa. We're getting off topic here.
That's when you asked about what do I enjoy, I don't know. I don't know if it's the best use of my time, but I really do enjoy talking with people. And so I'll go down like on the phone, like in person on the phone. I'll go down any tangent that they want to go down. And you have some really interesting conversations with people. And even if they never even become clients or whatnot, it's just some interesting people are super interesting.
Characters. Characters.
Yeah. Like I could hang out all night talking and just learning and seeing what they're about, what experiences they've been through. And eventually you get into like really funny stories and stuff like that. And that's where you really, I think, bond with somebody, when you get into the stories where they've embarrassed themselves and then you share what you've done to embarrass yourself. Like, when I was in Vegas just recently, I was kept pushing on this glass door to get into the hotel. And, this old lady came over and pulled on it for me and said, "It's a pull door, sir." And I was like, thanks.
I would have been like, "You've been pulling doors for how many years, lady?"
It reminded me of a Far Side cartoon.
Yeah.
Where he's pushing on the door and it says pull and it says, school for the gifted or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see like the feet are up on the door trying to pull it back and it's not working. Yeah. That's so funny. I mean, that could potentially sell the job too. I mean, given that when you have a well-oiled business like you have, employees that come in, they do the job, and you can focus on that, great. When you're like a one-man shop, maybe a two-man shop, being on the phone isn't so much the healthiest thing throughout the day, especially when you wear all the hats, going back on wearing all the hats. But, you know,
I'd imagine you'd have to be able to determine within 5 minutes whether you're where you can save a lot of time is by not trying to convince people who are not convincible.
Right.
So trying to convince somebody that a wrap is a good idea when they think cut vinyl is where it's at. I don't, want to spend too much time on that. But if somebody, already has wraps or is like, yeah, no wraps, I got to get rid of this cut vinyl. This isn't the way to go anymore. It makes it a lot easier to have those deeper conversations that are rewarding.
Right. Right.
But yeah, trying to convince people to do the right thing when they're just sitting there, just like harming their business. It's a little tough to watch after a while.
Yeah. I mean, you can't jump down their throats and be like, no. The wrap is what you need. And this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, sometimes you make more money on a partial or even like a lettering job in and out. Couple $100, done. And you know what? The client's happy. You're happy. You made money either way. It's not a home run every time a client walks through the door.
Man, I sure want it to be a home run every time.
I mean, we would love it for sure.
Everything I can, because in the beginning, I think in the beginning, a lot of shops, I don't know if this is true or not, but I would imagine it's like, okay, we're just trying to sell. Right, we gotta get something in the back, and we gotta put some graphics on and run the credit card. And yeah, great, we need $300 today.
Right,
which sure beats being unemployed or being a starving musician or whatnot.
Yep.
But I guess after doing it for long enough, you start to realize that helping people, whether it's in business or, volunteering or listening to somebody who has an emotional crisis, or helping people is really the only currency of any value in the long term of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking that to when somebody asks for, can I just get some magnets on my vehicle? I don't see how it's helping them to say yes. It actually looks bad on their vehicle. It looks like they're not going to be in business for the long haul. Magnets fall off.
Right.
I'm going to be the guy that charged them $125 for something that's worthless.
Right.
I don't want to be that guy. That doesn't feel good, and it doesn't help them. So, I've actually stopped doing magnets. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Now, not to say that other places that do sell magnets, because they don't do wraps, and you go to a place that sells magnets because that's what they do. But if you go to a place that helps you build your brand and they sell you magnets, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like you go to a weight loss clinic and they have like a big ice cream bar. That's not right.
Yeah.
But if you go to a dessert place and they have ice cream, well, that's what you expect. That's what you went there for, right?
Right.
You're not going there for the health food. But if you're, go to this weight loss clinic and on the way out, here's a voucher for, Baskin Robbins. That doesn't work. So I'm thinking about this from the long term, and it started happening when people came back and they were like, "Hey, Tim, this is working." And the funny thing is when you do the design right, the conversation you have a lot more frequently is a client calling and say, "Hey, this is really funny, but I keep having people calling me saying, 'Hey, I see your wraps all over town.'" And they only have one wrap.
Yeah. That's the best
and
compliment.
They're like, and so now I actually tell people, hey, when this is working right, that's the phone call you're going to get.
Yep.
Because I see your vehicles all over town.
Yep.
So
that's when you know you're doing something right,
but it takes years to get there that way because
100%.
You're not going to know.
Right. And sometimes you don't get that feedback, from the client. You know what I mean? Unless you had that real kind of one-on-one kind of hit it off type of client where they'll call you out of the blue, and be like, "Oh, I got this great account because of my wrap. Just want to say thanks for what you did, and it's really helping my business." A lot of us don't. And on top of that, I think at the end of the day, being a business owner, following up a few months for maybe within the quarter,
Yeah, that's something I could do. I need to do a better job of is following up on and checking progress. My barometer is whether they ordered more vehicles or whether they called in and were really enthusiastic.
Right.
Follow up on, hey, how's it going? And because you'll find, they're a little bit busy. They don't need to be making personal phone calls about the vehicle wrap vendor.
Right.
They don't call up the car dealer and, man, this truck is still running smooth after 6 months.
Appreciate
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'll be in for my oil change soon.
And the headlines still work. That's great.
Yeah. That's awesome.
You did what you were supposed to do. So cool. Thanks.
Exactly. I think a checkup would be great, for our industry, where we give them some type of card or some type of guideline. I was always a big believer in, the first thing that they ask when they come pick up the wrap is, okay, how do I take care of it? And then I'd always put like, almost like a door knocker on the, rearview mirror, like the visor. And one side would tell you, what to do, to keep it clean. And the other side would say what not to do.
Right. That's what, So I did that in the beginning, but what I realized is the person picking up the vehicle is not the person that's normally paying the bills.
Right.
Or has a vested interest in not screwing up the wrap. So the first thing that happens is that hanger goes in the trash. Or, we noticed this with the bed liners when we did preloads at the dealership, is the people cleaning the vehicles took the hanger thing off and put it in the glove box. And nobody really looks in the glove box after you buy a car to see what's in there. Right? You don't go through the glove box of a brand new car. You think it's empty. Or your manual's in there. You don't need that.
Yep.
Like, unless you get a flat tire. And 3 years later, they're like, oh, wow, look at this. Here's the do's and don'ts about I wish I'd known that before I did this.
So I don't bring it to the car wash?
Yeah. So it's handed out with the final receipt. It's a door hanger or the mirror hanger. It's also part of the estimate that gets signed. Here's the warranty. Here's how to look after it. Yeah. So that the person that's signing the estimate, there's usually somebody that has a vested interest in it.
Right, in the checks. Right.
And then there's links in emails to the warranty. We have a system set up where they are put on the schedule to come back in 1 month for a 5-minute checkup.
Good, yeah.
And 3 months for a 5-minute checkup and 6 months for a 5-minute checkup.
Yeah, I mean, that was the point I was getting to, is that checkup part. Because we all know sometimes, and this happens often than not. It's like they see something, they're like, oh, okay, I'll have to get to it at some point. Maybe a little bubble or something just peeling back underneath the wheel well. And then by the time you get it, the wrap is halfway off.
Yeah.
The bubble's already split. There's dirt, grime all behind it when you could have taken care of it, 6
right
months.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wouldn't be at a point where you have to replace the whole panel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And doing that is great. You know, a couple weeks, 3 months, 6 months. Typically after your 3-month period, if you haven't seen anything happen yet, it most likely is. It's going to happen within the first week that they have.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that you know, and that just goes back to us being business owners and, you know, just giving that extra customer service kind of, I don't know, just the customer service end of it. I mean, doing your due diligence and calling and making sure that everything is good and saying what's up. Or if you're in the neighborhood and they have an office, just popping in and saying, hi, you know, there's a truck here. Can we take a peek at it? I was in the area, you know, just little stuff like that goes a long way too. Because they feel like, you know, you went out of your way for them, even though you were on your way somewhere else. It's just that mind psyche for the client. You know what I mean?
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a picture of a client's vehicle as it's, you know,
driving by,
and text it to them. Hey, I saw you. Here's one of your vehicles.
Yeah.
You know? And they're kind of excited about it. They're like, oh, well, where was he?
Was he speeding? Is something wrong?
No, he was driving good. Well, no, that's good. Yeah. He was on his way to work.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love that. I love seeing my work driving around. I mean, I think that's the best feeling being a business owner at the end of the day is seeing the work you're producing for someone else that is benefiting from it.
The impact, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the most fulfilling thing, at least for me personally.
Right. Exactly. Because I think when you're younger, you don't get to think too far in advance. It's what am I going to do this weekend?
Right.
Right. And then later you start to get to this point where you're like, what are people going to think of me at your funeral kind of thing. Right. And that's kind of a morbid thing to think, but you're not going to get to the end of your life and say, man, I'm really happy about all that money I made and that big TV I had. And, just the materialism of everything. The thing you can be most proud of is how many people you helped.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where I was getting to that legacy currency thing. You look around, you're driving along, you're like, there's a person that's helped because there's their wrap, there's their wrap, there's that wrap. And I know that because of that wrap, they bought 2 more vehicles and they're thriving.
Right.
And that's helping.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think
it's a really good feeling.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of us think of it that way. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of us do.
Well, we're trying to survive too, right?
Right. So we have families to feed.
Not like Mother Teresa of the rap world here, but
free raps this week. Everybody come down.
Yay! I helped everybody, and I'm now living under an overpass.
Yeah. I mean,
that's something that a lot of people ask about too is motivation. Like, as an entrepreneur, how do you keep motivated and stuff like that? And I think for me, the big motivating thing is I don't want to live under an overpass.
Yeah.
Going back to the days in the music world of just not having anything. That was fun back then. And sure as heck don't want to go back there now. And,
it'd be a lot harder now.
Yeah. I mean, this just, you got a family and kids and stuff. And,
yeah,
you get to a certain level, you like your life.
Yep.
And so that's really very motivating. I don't want to end up like that. So don't do things that could jeopardize that. Your reputation, what you say, the product you put out there. If it's half-assed and comes back, that doesn't take very long before now your reputation's gone.
Yeah. I mean, what do they say? You can have 9 really good clients, but at the end of the day, if that one person doesn't have a good experience, it jeopardizes everything. You've ruined everything. The domino effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just takes one bad review, one bad, comment, and and everybody knows whatever is on the internet is true, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything you hear on the internet's true. So, you know, the internet is a good thing, I believe, but it also is a hard thing because at the end of the day, going back to this whole review thing, it's, you put out a product, you do the best that you can, and you have that one client that just writes you that crazy review on Facebook or Yelp, and that ends up being the biggest highlight of kind of your whole career. You know what I mean? It's like what happened to everybody else, but that one bad one just drops all the good ones.
I think you kind of have to know who you are. And like, I don't know how to explain that, but you're as an entrepreneur, your definition of yourself can't really be dictated by your reviews, and that goes for good as well. So if you're gonna be upset about the bad reviews, then it's going to be tough to make it forward. So the thing to do is to not brush them off, like make improvements, but don't be too upset about them, and then also don't be too patting yourself on the back when you do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Like doing what you're supposed to do is the bare minimum, right? Like I did a great job on the wrap. I was really happy. Blah, blah, blah. That's what I said I would do. It's not
above and beyond.
I mean, you go above and beyond, but I said I would go above and beyond. So I try not to get too emotionally attached to the the good reviews or the bad, and just keep a steady, slow and steady wins the race kind of deal.
Right. Yeah. Walk, crawl, walk, run, sort of thing.
Yeah. Don't get all high on yourself, and then also don't beat yourself up too much,
Yeah, I think a lot of us get, when you get that first one, more or less.
Yeah, the first one, you're like, what the heck?
It gets in your head. It gets in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and you really do think, and there's two options here, right? One of them is that reviewer is crazy.
Yeah.
The second option is, man, I really messed up.
Yeah.
I really irritated a person that I shouldn't have done that. And so I think the better approach is to take that second approach and say, what did I do to cause this person to do that? And how do I not do that in the future?
Right.
Instead of blaming, saying, well, that person's just crazy. They're doing that because of something that happened, like a bee just doesn't fly out of the sky and sting you like you're swatting at it or something, right? Like,
right.
Like you're nearby its nest. You're like some sort of stimulus causes an action, and to not understand what the stimulus was, it's likely to happen again. And I'm guilty of that. I've had a couple of reviews where people are not happy with my response or whatnot, and I regret it. It's made me think the next time that things get a little bit tense and it's just not worth getting all excited about it. Just try to help the person, and if you can't help them, find somebody that can help them, because it's not helpful to say I can't help you and hang up the phone.
Right. Find another alternative.
Yeah. I know that's very irritating as a consumer myself, when somebody they're not the person, and they don't know, and how could they not know somebody that could help me?
Right.
That just seemed like, point them in the right direction.
Yeah, get them out.
A wrap isn't for you. This is what you need. Or, magnets. I don't do magnets, but this is a place down the street that does magnets, and they do a good job.
Right.
I don't paint vehicles before wrapping them, but these are 3 places that are nearby that do that.
Yeah.
This vehicle's too old. You shouldn't be putting a $3,000 wrap on a $1,500 Ram. But here's 3 car dealers that sell cars that are in the fleet department, and they're good dudes. They'll help you.
I like that mentality, And who knows, they might come down later on down the road. Believe it or not.
I have had that happen before, where I'm like, I at that price, I can't help you, but I know that this guy will help you. I don't know what the design's going to be like, and please don't blame me if anything goes wrong, but they've come back later and realized,
It wasn't
that
for them.
that didn't work out. And so this, they come back and said, hey, that was cool how you did that. You didn't start saying, well, drop the price. That really irritates people, because when you drop the price just like that, what it tells them is that you were about to charge them too much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, has that ever happened?
True.
Like, you're going and buy something there, it's $100. Nah, it's too much. 80. What? You were about to screw me out of $20. Now 80 might be too much too, right?
Yeah. You just open up the negotiation part of it.
Yeah.
When you as the, a business owner, you open up the conversation in that manner that you just drop the price quickly like that. What do you think's going to happen? They're going to try to get you down half price. Easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes they will. And that's the sad part. I mean, we've all been there. It's like, oh, we had a slow week and a job comes in and you really just want to make that extra buck because you've had a slow week. But, at long run, that just hurts you,
Well, then you should start the conversation with that and say, listen, it's a slow week. So normally I'd be charging 100, but now I'm charging you 80, but I can't go lower than 80.
Right.
At least you're honest in that, right? And instead of saying, oh, it's 100, and then they say, well, what about 80? And you go, okay. Now it looks like you didn't, like, just put it out there. Say, it is a slow week.
Right.
I'm willing to do this without you having to ask. I'm willing to do this.
Right. Yeah. Being comfortable with your customers in that way. It's good. I mean, you don't know what the outcome could be unless you try it,
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's just a huge part of being a business owner. No, I mean, there's no guideline, there's no book, especially like for the industry. There's no book that you can read and be like, okay, this is how you should do it. This is, this is how you make a profit and all this and all that. And just, you learn by fire.
I guess you can go to school, learn through books. Or you can take that money and do it yourself, right?
Right. Yeah.
Take that $20,000 you would have spent on college, and I mean, there's most likely you could learn some accounting practices that might be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But you could also, start your own business and learn pretty quick how to not to lose more money than you should, because it's your money, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's the name of the game, is how much money can I not lose this week?
yeah, exactly.
That's it's we laugh we laugh, but it's just because we laugh because it's happened to us. We've been through these struggles where, you came down on a price when you knew you should have just stayed and a client would have been perfectly fine, and you lost $200 or $300 for no reason. And it's just like, it's frustrating,
Yeah.
It's just
in the beginning, especially because you don't have a lot going on.
Right.
Later on, you're like, look, the name of the game is okay, cool. So I went down 300 there. Now, quick, I need to move on real quick and get to the next thing.
Right.
And speed things up a little bit.
And going back on that, it's not that when you look back, okay, I lost 300. And your mindset clicks. It's almost like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to reference it, but it's almost like, okay, I lost 300. The next person that comes in, I have to make those 300 back. And now you're like overpricing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing you're doing, more than you're discounting or not discounting, is you're wasting too much time closing the deal by meddling around with the price.
Yeah.
So you could have another half-hour conversation and get another $150, or you could find another customer in that half hour for $1,500.
Right.
So, I think that's the best thing to do, is just come at people with your best price right off the bat, and be open and honest about it, and move on. If you're trying to convince people that are not convincible, the amount of time wasted on that is really bad. So moving on moving on.
That's it.
It's more. It makes a bigger impact than whether you manage to squeeze a few extra bucks out of a deal or price something right. The getting more deals is where it's at, and that's really something that goes back to McDonald's that we learned was whether you charge $1 a burger or $1.25 a burger. If you can get 300 more people through the drive-through in an hour and a half, that's where it's at.
Right.
Right. So forget about, I mean, obviously you don't want to price it so you're losing money, but the efficiency of how many more jobs can you do rather than saying, well, I'm going to get half the amount of work and get 10% more in price.
Right.
That math doesn't make sense.
No, that's not a good business plan to have. A motto to go through,
and that comes from being too emotionally attached to the outcome.
Yep.
So I'm in a battle with this guy on the phone, and I'm going to get the extra. I'm going to get this price. I'm going to battle back and forth. I'm going to send 45 emails. Yes, success. Meanwhile, you're like, there's 17 people that you didn't contact in that week because of that time wasted.
Yep, and they've already moved on to the next shop.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. Well, I want to transition a little bit here. I want to talk about another venture that is rap related, which is the Bad Rap.
Okay. Yep.
Can you talk to me a little bit on how you got involved with the Bad Rap brand or product, so to say?
I think about 2012, I brought on a guy named Sergio DeSoto as a consultant for Smart Wrap, and at the same time he was working on recharging the Bad Wrap, which he had invented, along with his business partner Jody. And he approached our team and said, "Hey, maybe would you guys be interested in partnering with him on that?" And it was such a great idea, the pre-made templates, because the only other option is to buy line drawing art, which didn't really look that good and wasn't terribly accurate.
Yeah.
You still had to actually measure the vehicles.
Yeah.
And his approach was that it's already measured and everything's already in there for you. And it's in Photoshop, which a lot of times wrap tend to be in Photoshop.
Right.
It will work in Illustrator, so there's no problem there. Anyways, we worked together and developed or rebranded it, started getting new templates that hadn't been updated in a little while. And then Sergio got the hankering to open up a wrap shop, so he ended up doing that, and our team ended up buying the whole product.
Wow.
I think that was in about 2013. And so basically all we've done since then is build templates and keep it updated and just try to be a part of the community. It's only really me and two other guys that build the templates. So we're not by any means we're like a micro business. So when we go to these trade shows, that's the whole Bad Rap team. There's me and two guys sitting at a table.
Wow.
At our booth. That's the entire team. Which is pretty cool. I mean, if you want to, if you need a template, you're talking to the guy that's going to make it.
Right.
So you're not talking to a large corporation.
I was going to ask, how long does it take to actually create the template? Because not only are you taking photos and taking measurements and sizing everything, but you've got to kind of crop out the background, but still keep the body lines and the shadows all in there.
To do a really good template, it's gonna take about 4 to 6 hours.
Wow.
To do a not such a good template, you could probably do that in 30 minutes. We hear this a lot at the trade shows as people are, I can do that myself in 2 minutes. And so what I want to do is flip the laptop around and there's going to be a picture of a car right there and say, all right, go ahead, do it. Yeah, I want both sides, the back and the front and the hood. Actually, I'm going to delete that picture because you don't have the picture. You have a client on the phone.
Yeah.
So schedule a time for them to come in so you can take pictures of your measurements. I'm going to start designing on this bad rep template right now. And when you're done, let me know.
You've already sealed the deal.
I know. So I don't feel like being snarky is the way to go, but a little bit of a reality check might be helpful.
Absolutely.
You can't just whip up a template in 2 minutes. Not one that you can go direct to print from anyway. So
Correct.
You could okay, I'm just going to take a picture off the internet. I'm going to do a low res proof. You're still going to need to take measurements and do all sorts of things like that. Unless you've got a good database yourself. Some people have that, but most people don't.
Right. I think, the bad rap itself is such a great product. Just because, like you said, with the line drawings, you don't get that wow factor when you're sending those proofs to the client. With the bad rap, you see those shadows, you see those body lines. It
just looks so clean,
It looks
that's what's
complete.
Yeah.
It looks complete. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think, for me, I want to say 90% of the job is sold off of that rendering.
Yeah.
Perception.
Yeah.
What they see with their eyes is gonna make them. It goes back to that feeling. How do they feel when they look at it? Oh my God, my truck's gonna look like that. That's amazing. Boom. You've already made that sale. Done. You're feeling good. You've made the client feel good. It's a done deal.
On your, if you're at your website and you've got all of the work that you've done and you show those proofs up there.
Right.
Then before they even do business with you, they know what to expect.
Exactly. That's amazing. Now I have the old school bad rap from like 2012, back when it was on a CD. That's the only way. That's the only way you could get them back then. And
have you backed that up onto multiple hard drives?
I haven't.
Eventually, it's gonna fail. I have some old CDs in my music collection that just stopped working recently.
Really?
So I'm telling people, CDs don't last forever. And neither do hard drives. So everybody that has any of that stuff, please have a backup.
Back it up. That's a lot of CDs. I don't know how many are in there.
Yeah, or somehow put them onto a drive or something.
Yeah, separately would be ideal.
You back up all of your design files, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. So this is as important. So anyways, we don't do the CDs anymore or the hard drives. You can download the templates one by one on the website. Or if you do a lot of reps, maybe a subscription is the way to go.
As far as like subscriptions go, can you let us in on how much that costs?
Yearly subscription, and you get a username and a password, and you log in, and you can go browse the site and download whatever templates you want. It's $6.99 for the year, and it's just real simple. We're in the process right now of updating the website and rebuilding the database, because when we started this in 2013, as you can imagine, things were different than they are now.
Yeah.
And we've been patching this together for 5 years, and we're really excited. It should be done here within about 6 weeks.
Oh, that's
amazing. I'm not sure that you'll notice anything on the front end too much.
Yeah.
But in terms of making this built for the future, it's going to be pretty impressive.
That's amazing. And then the single templates for the occasional wrapper is how much if you just wanted to download one?
Yeah, they're $30.
$30, which isn't that bad. You price that in with your design fee.
Yeah. And the time that you were now, especially as a business owner, when you're talking, like I was talking about the speed,
right?
And you're looking at your designer spending all this time, and they haven't even gotten to the design phase yet,
right?
Cropping out trees and stuff, and you're thinking, this is costing me not just their wage, it's costing me because in the 4 hours that they've spent messing around with this, we could have designed a whole nother wrap. Maybe that's $1,000 or $2,000.
Right.
So $30 is quite a savings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's competitive with the line drawing ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually have never looked at that. I don't even know what they charge for pricing on.
I think they're rough. I mean, they're not that far apart. If you bought them individually, they may be like $25, maybe $30. Huh. It's
weird.
But to get a realistic photo of the design, and then you're able to take that and transfer it to being a print file, ready to go. I mean, that's a win-win right there. And when you download them individually, do you give them, because I know on the disc it gives you like a low-res one to do quick renderings, but then you have the high resolution one. But
what
scaled.
We do now is you just get the scaled high res, because what we realized is, who wants to design things twice?
Right. Yeah.
So why not just design on your print files?
Yeah. And you've guys, and what you've done differently too is you have two different types of programs, so to say. One gives you the square footage right off the bat.
Oh yeah, that's another idea. Yeah, the Rapulator.
Yes.
Now, this started out as an app, and for whatever reason we couldn't figure out or get this fixed. What it would do, it was supposed to be like $5 or $10 or whatever the price was, $10 a month to use the app, but what happened is that it would charge $10 the first month and then never charge it again.
Oh, jeez. Giving it away.
So we couldn't get that fixed. And so eventually, what we came up with, rather than an app that you have to download and do all this different stuff, is a reinvented, Rapulator that's basically PDF sheets that you can download.
Mm-hmm.
That has all angles of the vehicle on it with pictures of coverage areas. So you can get because the other Rapulator just gave you a square footage. Now, what if you only want the bed of the pickup truck? How much is that?
Right.
You don't know. It went 57. If it's a 50% wrap, what 50% are you talking about?
Right.
The top half, the back half, So and people are visual, so this is going to work out better. Now, there's so many different options for what people use on media, like 48-inch, 54-60. How do they panel it? Sideways, vertical? We didn't really, we didn't want to have 7 different options for everything. So a lot of the pictures and measurements you see, you're going to have to remember that there is no film out there that's going to be 80 by 75 inches.
Right.
You're going to have to remember that that's going to be paneled. Or what if it's, 60 by 38?
Right.
Okay, well, I know that needs to go on 48, but we're giving you the exact dimensions so that you know, based on the film that you have, what you're going to need to do.
Which is smart.
Yeah, we kind of had to choose one way to go on that. So,
yeah. And given that you guys are in the industry, you wrap cars all the time. You know how these things are going to get put on, and having it the easiest way to get that quick quote out, because we all know, on a big fleet or a quick turnaround, these people are getting 3 to 4 quotes. It's how quick can you get that quote out? When they send you an email that morning, they're probably going to be waiting for that quote that afternoon.
Yeah. And where this came about was, once you've been in a wrap business for long enough, what starts happening is your customers start coming back because of car accidents, minor accidents, and they just need the driver's side, bedside replaced.
Right.
How much is it?
Yeah.
And so now you've got to go interrupt your designer to use the measure tool in Photoshop to try and get the dimensions, right?
Right.
And so after doing that enough, eventually they were like, why don't you take some notes or something? Because at least once a day you're coming in here and doing this. And so that's where we thought maybe we should do these PDF sheets.
Smart.
And, So that's available as a subscription as well. That's $199 a year, unlimited downloads.
And
or if you don't do that many of them, they're just $10 each.
And I mean the $199 is 100% the way to go, because if you're quoting every week, at $10 a sheet, you can go through, what is that, 200 vehicles?
Yeah, $500 a year or something. But
yeah. It's definitely, and for our listeners, these are not templates. These are just PDFs of the vehicles that you have templates for that just give you the measurements in order just for quoting only. Yeah. And I like the way you have the two separate colors for window perf as well as the wrap film. Which is nice. The separation.
And when we did the pictures of the bumpers from the rear view, that what we've done there is we've extended it to wrap all the way around to the wheel wells.
Wow.
Because you're not just going to, you shouldn't just wrap the visible area of the back bumper. You're going to have a seam in the middle of it if you do that.
Right.
So when you see these pictures, the pink area, which is the back bumper, is going to look really wide. But that's because it's designed to be seamless and wrap around the other sides.
Now, given that you're in this particular market, and a lot of us, like for instance, Ryan Sandoval from Glarb and Scott from Skeppel and all these other designers, Christina from Curvaceous, when they're designing a lot of these high-end wraps, they're using your brand. I've seen in the renderings that they're putting up, they're using it. I try to bring it up because I come from a design background, is when you're creating that template where the bumpers match the quarter panels, the front bumper matches the hood, matches the fenders. Is there any talks, or maybe you can't say, is there any talks in the near future of making those types of templates where the car is butterflied open, where it could be user-friendly, where we don't have to create our own templates to get that type of design concept?
Not really, because the thing that we're using these for is your print files.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the trade shows, a lot of people ask for a 3D rendering, and they want to see it from both the back and the side.
Right.
The problem is that that's not going to be a print file. It's going to have perspective in it, and if you print it like that, it's going to be so messed up it'll never fit the vehicle, right? So what we're doing here is speeding up the process of wrapping the vehicle by designing on the print files. So we're going to need to keep it that way in that regard. Now there are some tricks you can do, especially if you're a more conceptual and three-dimensionally intelligent person. You can make markers in different parts of both sides of the template that line up. Right? So if you're going to be 13 inches on the rear view from this particular thing, and then you go to the side view and that's 13 inches is right there, that's where that should line up. But then again, there's a curve to this.
Right.
So that's not likely to line up, and there's no way to do that other than to say, okay, maybe you shouldn't design it like that.
Yeah.
Maybe design it in a way that these two elements connect regardless of that, or they, go into a tail light so that you don't see that.
Right. It boggles my mind when I see stuff that Scott has put together, or Ryan's put together, or Christina's put together, and it all comes into life. And, as these high-end designers design, being in the industry, that's like the first thing I'm looking at. I'm like, how does that bumper match that quarter panel? And,
part of it can be, give some credit to the install team too.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of times they're like, man, this isn't matching up, so we're going to have to move this over here, stretch that up there.
Yes.
Maybe even reprint this and redesign it a little bit because it's not working.
I mean, just getting it close. Getting it close for the print file is magical. But you are 100% right. It definitely falls in the shoulders of the installers where they have to manipulate it to make it work, or shrink it down for some reason, 5% to make it work. It's trial and error at the end of the day.
Right. Like you've got a phone number that's supposed to go on the fender of a GMC pickup truck. The front fender, it bows out quite a bit.
Yes.
It looks flat in the proof. And if you're doing it right from that angle that the proof is, it's going to be straight as well. And installers that have the right tools and know how to manipulate the film will make it look like the proof, at least from one angle.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, if you're looking from the back of the truck towards the front, the phone number looks like it bows out. But if you're looking at a straight side view, everything should look like it's supposed to look.
Right. Yeah.
You don't start curving up or curving down because somehow things got messed up.
Yep. Yeah. Everybody plays a part of it at the end of the day. And when one doesn't work that well, it's the domino effect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
it's funny that you mentioned that, cause that's what I look for in all of these designs. And, where does the bumper panel meet the rear quarter panel? How did they do that?
Yeah. Symmetry.
Does it line up? Yeah. And a lot of times it doesn't line up, but because of the design is so sort of random, it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah. It's so
But
close.
if you've got a red line that goes from one to the other, that's going to be really tricky. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Trying to find places where you can hide it.
It might match up right at that spot, but then it's going to be really crooked where they try to manipulate it so that it would match up.
Right.
It's going to look more like a heartbeat than a straight line.
I'm so glad I'm not in that type of industry. The restyling, the customization end of it. I'm so glad I'm in the commercial end of it, because a lot of that stuff we can dye into like a taillight, like you said, or a headlight, or we have those plastic panels now in these commercial, sprinters, where we can break up the design where, it's easier for the installer to hide certain things, when you're trying to do that transition or, line everything up. You've got that little bit of a break in the vehicle. And, it's nice. I always levitated more towards the commercial end, just because it's a little bit easier and it's a more prominent market than the restyling, in my opinion, for me, in my area, at least.
Yeah. It's just two different worlds, right? Like one, you're looking at the personal impact of doing something for somebody that's going to help their business, help them generate revenue, realize their dreams, put their kids through college. That feels good.
Right.
On the other side of things, getting to be a part of somebody that has a rap that gets 100,000 likes.
Right.
That feels good, right? Like some of the stuff I've seen Scott do is just crazy how much attention that gets. It must feel pretty cool to be, I'm the guy that did that, like in a way that an artist must, hopefully get some attention before they pass away and then their art becomes famous. But,
Right. Yeah.
Like I designed something that got really like that'd feel just about as cool as well. I guess it just depends on your, are you more like an artist or for me, I'm more like a sociologist or an advertiser or a marketer, like a madman or something like that. Right.
Right.
And I feel more, interested in that, and sort of like the Al Rees kind of world, right? Like the positioning, and that's to me that's really fascinating. Even though I went to art school and I studied all the artists, I find that book, those books that Al Rees put out, and it's just fascinating to me, absolutely fascinating.
What type of people, and it doesn't have to be industry related, inspire you? Or do you kind of look up to, or either read or listen, or?
There's only like really, I'd say Al Reese and Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary, yeah, he's a big influencer.
Yeah. He's been actually an interesting influence on me. When that economy did tank back in 2008, our bedliner company went from doing almost, I think about 12,000 trucks a year spraying down to like 1,800 or something.
Wow.
We had to lay off 90% of our staff.
Jesus.
And all of the owners had to not take a paycheck. And so I answered a Craigslist ad for part-time wine sales. And they didn't respond, so I kept pestering them. And so I started selling wine on the weekends and at night inside Costco. And I couldn't, I've always thought I wanted to write a book called How to Sell $100,000 worth of wine without opening a bottle. And cause you're not allowed to do the tastings in Costco.
Wow.
And so, I went in there and they're like, okay, so this is what you do. You stand in front of this table and, when people walk by, you say, hey, would you like to buy some wine? And then when they say, are there any tastings? You say no.
So, no, just buy the bottle, goddammit.
So and I'm still really good friends with the person that hired me. They said, they're gonna go take their break. You just stand here by the table and, make sure nobody steals anything. So they went away and I started talking to people. Hey, have you ever tried wine before? Are you interested in wine? Are you doing a party? Anyway, so they went away for a couple hours, and I sold about 10 cases.
Wow. And
so then that worked out really good. So what I noticed was people would say, your wine that you're selling, does it taste like this? And there's other wine for sale in Costco. And I'm like, I don't know. And I can't afford to buy every wine in Costco, right?
Right.
So I quickly Google wine reviews. And then I'm like, I don't really feel like reading all these reviews. Maybe there's like a YouTube video I can watch. So I Google wine review YouTube. And Gary comes up, and this is like 2008, and I'm like, this guy's freaking hilarious. This is the way to go, right? Like, this tastes like Captain Crunch, this is like this, like that. So I started talking like that, and immediately I was selling like 10, 20, 30 cases a day, and really making ends meet on the job that I worked 2 days a week.
Just 2 days a week?
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
That's amazing.
8 hours a week. It made like $3,000 a month.
Let me ask you something. Have you reached out to Gary?
Well, here's the next part of the story is like, so then he wrote the book Crush It. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I should start a wine blog. Maybe if I start a wine blog, I'll get all these people and, I can tell them which Costco I'm working at. So I was thinking very like transactional.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is kind of how he says he started his wine show, very transactional. Like, I'm going to sell wine like it's QVC or something, right?
Right.
And within 5 minutes of his show, he realized, okay, I can't be that guy. I'm just going to have to be honest and be like, this wine kind of sucks. And this, even though I'm selling it, it sucks. And so, I started doing it, and I went and saw him speak, and he's like, the whole thing about blog about your passion. And so I did that. And he goes, if you just blog about your passion to all of these people, and like sooner or later somebody's going to call you, right? And I'm like, yeah, cool. So I started blogging, and a month later I get an email from him. It's like, hey Timmy, I'd like you to write for my website.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, these are my friends. They're messing with me because I told them I was going to write a wine blog, and Gary Vaynerchuk told me I was going to get famous and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't answer because I thought they were messing with me, because it didn't come from a like, it was like Gary V. It was like, I guess it was an email that he had that he didn't really use, or maybe it was his personal email. So I didn't And then another month goes by, and I get another email, and this time it's got a bunch of people copied in it from Wine Library. And I'm like, oh, that was a real thing. So I got to write for his website. It was called Corked.
Wow.
For a year, and put out 4 to 5 pieces of content a week for a year. And he put me in touch with a guy named John Trotman, who was a sommelier and a really good writer. And I didn't get paid, but that's the thing. I got what I would say is a university level training. Mm-hmm. Call it university level training, because I'd write, and then he'd say, okay, so what you need a headline that gets people to read the first sentence. And then the first sentence, you need them to, that's going to get them to read the second sentence.
Right.
Which is going to get them to read the second paragraph. So he had this formula, and it was like, man, this is really good. So after going through a year of doing this 4 or 5 days a week, unfortunately, at that point, he was like, I'm getting out of the wine business and starting VaynerMedia. But before that happened, they did a thing here in Arizona called the Judgment of Arizona, which was modeled after the Judgment of Paris, which was a wine tasting in Paris in 1976, where they did 10 American upstart wines against a bunch of French wines, and the American wines beat the French wines, and it was a huge upset.
Wow.
And so we did this thing in Arizona, and they brought in all of these heavy-hitting people in the wine industry worldwide, and one of them was Gary. So at the end of it, he just kind of walked up to me and said, hey, you want to go out for dinner? Because I'd been sitting over there minding my own business.
Yeah.
And so I had dinner with him and a bunch of other business people and marketers, and it was really really, really interesting to see, because I see what he looks like now on the podcast and all of these different things. But I know in person he's very quiet, and all he does is listen.
Really?
Like, he would ask this guy a question, ask that guy a question, ask that. And he wouldn't give his opinion on anything. He just ask, what do you mean by that? Oh, okay, cool. So what are you going to do next? So how does that work? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then near the end, he's like, man, you guys, this is a moment. All you guys have to just keep in touch. And I have kept in touch with at least half the group.
That's amazing.
And then on top of that, he's like, I just know what I'm going to be doing next. It's going to be huge, man. I just have this feeling in my gut. I can barely eat dinner. I'm so excited about this. It's going to be freaking huge. It's going to be the wine business. Like, nobody's going to even know that I did the wine business.
No, he's got.
And this was in the summer of 2010, and that's literally what happened. It's so neat to see somebody who had that
vision.
Vision. It's almost like a vision, but it's almost like when you wake up as a kid on Christmas morning one year and you're thinking, oh man, I think there's going to be tons of presents. This is going to be great. Is that sort of feeling where you just don't know, but you know something good's about to happen.
I think people, like, you always hear stories like that. And on the other side of the token, people always like, yeah, you were brought up with a silver spoon in your mouth, or, and he says that all the time. He's like, I walked away from the wine industry. I didn't want anything to do with it. Yeah. He's like, he made his own money, saved up his own money. And, that's his whole story. And he talks about that often. And, it sucks when you have people like saying, oh, my life sucks, my life this, I'm never going to get ahead. And like, some people just have it. People just, I don't know, these premonitions or these types of visions of things. And at the end of the day, if you don't pursue what you're passionate about, you're the only one that's there to lose. You don't know unless you try it. And I think that was his biggest thing all through life, was he always tried something, whether it failed,
Yeah.
it didn't fail or whatnot. And look at him now. I mean, he's taken the media company that he has. Now he's like into like Twitch and video games. He's into some type of like what is it? Some type of not, I don't think it's gambling, but it's something to do with sports, right? Or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, it's like agents. Like he's representing sports players like as an agent.
Yeah, like it's just amazing.
Which is like, it's interesting because that's, he's thinking long term, right? Like if you can, and you'll take a lot less as an agent.
Yes.
Right? Because he has this media company that needs influencers later, after this guy's done with his career.
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
Right. Like, so a lot of these people are thinking, how much can I get right up front? Because I'm paid as an agent on how much I make for the client. Whereas, okay, I'll take less and give the sports kid more, but later on I'm going to call in a favor.
Right. And then you bank on that. Get enough of those underneath your belt, and you'll be all right.
Yeah. So he's a fascinating dude, and he's somehow he's able to remember people's faces, because I've met him a couple times later, and he's like, "Oh, hey Tim, how you doing?" I would be drinking a bottle of wine, and I drank the last one of this collection, and I posted it on Instagram. Like, man, I just can't believe I drank all of this. And he's like, responds to it and says, Brandon at Wine Library will hook you up with some more.
Ha! That's awesome.
Like, a guy with like 4 million people on Instagram following him has time to do that. It's,
it's insane.
It says a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I watch a lot of his videos. I love how he interacts with people. He does that little segment where if you kind of throw your phone number out, he'll call you in a
video. That's hilarious.
Yeah, the guy is just phenomenal. He's just, never met him in my life, but I would assume that he's just a down to earth type of guy, and I find
he's quite different than the persona that's out there. You'd be like, oh wow, so he doesn't get all excited about stuff. He's sort of just like, hey man, how you doing?
That's amazing.
Like, is this the same guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
100 miles an hour all the time. It looks like that's phenomenal. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That a lot of us do. We all follow Gary, and we all follow other influencers, and that's amazing that you actually got to help him. Now, had you had any type of blogging or writing kind of training or classes in that?
I did when I went to art school. I did creative writing.
Okay.
I did some creative writing at the community college level, entered some contests, ended up winning them. So I do enjoy writing. I like storytelling.
Nice.
What was kind of fit in my little bit of realm was almost like instigating, right? Like the headline instigates something. Like you put out something that's not quite clickbait, but it gets people going, and I thought that was quite fun. Just in the same way that the picture of a Papa Smurf on a poster for a band, would get people going. Or one of the other things we did is we found some high school annuals from like 1974. And the pictures of the people with the big sideburns and the funny hair and their clothes and stuff, on the handbill, we would put that picture and have a time and an address. And you'd be like, what the heck is this?
That's so funny.
Like this guy with a total like huge sideburns, and like you knew something funky was going to be happening then. But anyways, awesome. So that the writing and the wine blog was actually a lot of fun. I got to do quite a lot because of that, and travel all through Napa and Arizona and Washington, Oregon, British Columbia.
Yeah, and also to just be in a room of entrepreneurs and just being even just being a fly in the wall, listening to those conversations, and that networking is worth so much to a lot of people. than it would be sitting in a classroom at a lecture, listen to the professor or whatnot, talking about stuff. You know, you learn so much in the real world than you do in a classroom.
Yeah. Well, the takeaway for me from that dinner was, well, the other thing was funny is that he had macaroni and cheese on a Coke for dinner. And this is before he got on a health plan.
That's awesome.
But the two things was he had an unwavering confidence and belief that what he was going to do was going to work. Maybe not the way he thought, but I'm going to succeed. I'm going to find a way to succeed.
Yeah.
And number two, that these people sitting at this table matter, and they should matter to each other, not that it's not about him. It's that we should be friends with each other. We should be good. We should be good people. So that, that's really unusual to think, because most people would be like, all right, call me. I'm going to do this for you. And this is how much it costs. Yeah. You know, all kinds of more transactional type stuff. But hey, you guys should you should be friends and keep in touch. That would mean a lot.
Yeah. It's not about me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Well, Tim, I want to wrap it up with you. It's been an amazing conversation.
Thanks. Yeah, this has been fun.
I want to be respectful of your time for sure. I could go on for another 2 hours. I can't.
You're probably going to run out of tape. It's digital.
It's digital. Yeah. We're not in this, 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Come on, you should know better. You were a musician. Yeah. You knew all about that. Mixtapes and cassette. Now our kids don't even know what a cassette is. It's crazy.
Yeah, they don't have the luxury of using a pencil to tighten it up a little bit.
That's awesome. Well, Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Please let everybody know where they can get information about the Smart Wrap brand and the Bad Wrap.
smartwrap.com and thebadwrap.com.
Thebadwrap.com. Perfect.
I'm on Instagram, Tim Hilcove. That's Hilcove. And I'm on Twitter and Facebook under the same.
Awesome. Tim, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit and share some stories and have me walk through this journey with you. It's been amazing, and thanks for opening up and sharing some of some tips, some tricks, and all these stories.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. We'll talk to you again soon.
What's up, everybody? Hope you enjoyed this episode of the All Wrapped Up podcast. Hit that rank button and review. And to stay up to date with future podcasts, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, folks, that's a wrap.